Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai, Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Radha Govardhandari, Radha Govardhandari, Shri Radhe. Jayam Vishapad Paramahamsa Parivraj Garsha Shamadas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Garsha Shri Shamad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Nanda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Premsakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nittai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya, Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we'll continue on reading from the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, to the Adi Leela chapter number 17, the pastimes of the Lord in his youth, and we're up to the Chankazi Leela pastime. Very ecstatic pastime. And we're up to text number 169 today. It was on the wall. Good. Tumiye kahile pandita se satyahaya. Tumiye kahile pandita se satyahaya. Antunika amara shastra vichara sahanaya. Adhunika amara shastra vichara sahanaya. Tumiye kahile pandita se satyahaya. Adhunika amara shastra vichara sahanaya. Tumiye kahile pandita se satyahaya. Adunika Amara Shastra Vichara Sahanaya. Umiye Kahile Pandita Se Satyahaya. Adunika Amara Shastra Vichara Sahanaya. Umiye Hali Pandita Se Satyahaya. Adhunika Amara Shastra Vichara Sahanaya. Vaishnavis like to chant. Umiye Kahile Pandita Se Satyahaya. Adhunika Amara Shastra Vichara Sahanaya. We'll do the word for word. To me, you, yea, whatever, kahile, have said, pandita, O Nimai Pandit, say that satya, truth, haya, is certainly adhunika of modern days, amara, our Shastra, scripture, vichara, logic, saha, with, naya, they are not. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. This is Lord Caitanya's, no, this is the Chandkazi speaking. This is the Chandkazi replying to Nimai Pandit when he's been refuting the Chandkazi's point he was trying to make about why it's okay for the Mohammedans to eat the mother cow and father bull. So he says to Lord Caitanya, "My dear Nimai Pandit, what you have said is all true. Our scriptures have developed only recently, and they are certainly not logical and philosophical." Purport: the Shastras of the Yavanas, or meat eaters, are not eternal scriptures. They have been fashioned recently, and sometimes they contradict one another. The scriptures of the Yavanas are three: the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. Their compilation has a history. They are not eternal like the Vedic knowledge. Therefore, although they have their arguments and reasonings, they are not very sound and transcendental. As such, modern people advanced in science and philosophy deem these scriptures unacceptable. Sometimes Christian priests come to us inquiring, quote, "Why are our followers neglecting our scriptures and accepting yours?" End of quote. But when we ask them, "Your Bible says do not kill. Why then are you killing so many animals daily?" They cannot answer. Some of them imperfectly answer that the animals have no souls. But then we ask them, "How do you know that animals have no souls? Animals and children are of the same nature. Does this mean that the children of human society also have no souls?" According to the Vedic scriptures, within the body is the owner of the body, the soul. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, "Dehanusmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dihantara prapte diras tatra na mukyate." As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. It's from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 13. Because the soul is within the body, the soul changes through so many forms. There is a soul within the body of every living entity, whether animal, tree, bird, or human being, and the soul is transmigrating from one type of body to another. When the scriptures of the Yavanas, namely the Old Testament, New Testament, and Quran, cannot properly answer inquisitive followers, naturally those advanced in scientific knowledge and philosophy lose faith in such scriptures. The Kazi admitted this while talking with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Kazi was a very intelligent person. He had full knowledge of his position as stated in the following verse. Om Jnana Tramanandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chaksho Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My dear Nimai Pundit, what you have said is all true. Our scriptures have developed only recently, and they are certainly not logical and philosophical. So as I was mentioning, that this is Chand Kazi has admitted defeat to the points that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has presented to him. And it's interesting, the point that Prabhupada is making in this purport is that all living entities have a soul. Anything which is manifest in consciousness means that there is a spirit soul present within that body, and different types of bodies facilitate expressions of different levels of consciousness. So the human form of life offers a very developed, advanced state of consciousness. And what that means to have developed consciousness means you can question your existence. Like, who am I? What am I? What is God? What happens when I die? Other forms of life are unable to do that. The fish, the dogs, the cows, they're not questioning like that. So that is the difference between the human form and non-human forms. But there is still a present spirit soul present within the body if consciousness is being manifested. And this is the revolutionary point that Srila Prabhupada is introducing into the Western world in particular, that consciousness comes from a non-material source. So modern day reductionist science is always trying to discover the origin of consciousness, where life comes from. And as Prabhupada said, that all they can offer is a post-dated check, which means they can write a check to present to you in the future, but we want the answers now. So what use is a post-dated check? So one of Prabhupada's strong preaching points was against this reductionist materialistic science, and also Mayavad and personal philosophy. If you see Prabhupada's main preaching points was against this atheistic science, because the human form of life has a very specific purpose. It's meant for developing your God consciousness. That's what we have taken birth in the human form of life for. But under the influence of this reductionist materialistic science, it's cheating people and deviating people from the true potential of what the human form of life actually offers. Everything's reduced to matter, like everything can be reduced to gases and chemicals and matter. So reductionist science says there is no soul, there is no God, everything is matter. Yeah, everything can be reduced to that. Some scientists will say that there's no difference between, someone dying and you pulling the plug out of a sink full of water. It's just a bunch of chemicals that get washed away. So it's very, very atheistic and very damaging, because as we know, the human form of life with our developed consciousness is meant for realising our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding we're not the body, we're the soul. And there's a book called Life Comes From Life, some of you are familiar with. I highly recommend reading it. It's a series of morning walk conversations Prabhupada is having with his disciples in different parts of the world, and he challenges this scientific understanding, reductionist scientific understanding of the way that we are being educated or indoctrinated into, actually, type of brainwashing, actually, indoctrinated into this concept that you are the body, you only live once, and the human form of life is meant for enjoying your senses to the maximum ability, because when you die, that's it, there's nothing left. So in this verse we're reading today, we can elaborate a bit further on this pastime between the Chand Kazi and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the previous verses we're reading about how the Chand Kazi had tried to stop the Sankirtan movement. He had smashed the mridangas, and they were ostracizing the Vaishnavas and people trying to chant Hare Krishna. They're trying to block them from chanting Hare Krishna in public. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, up to that point, had just been doing his nocturnal kirtans in the house of Srinivas. And there was very private kirtans. There was only very intimate associates who were allowed into the Sangha to witness the kirtans of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And people had heard about the wonderful kirtans that were going on, and some people had even tried to sneak in to these nocturnal kirtans. There's that story of the brahmachari, who was very austere, who only ate milk and fruits, and he was hiding in a basket in the house of Srinivas. Srinivas Thakur. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not feel his usual ecstasy and realised there was someone who was in there that should not be there. So he was removed from the basket, and he was presented as being a very great sadhu and very austere, but this was not pleasing to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, it's not through drinking milk and eating fruits that you can attain bhakti. So up to that point, it was very, very personal and very intimate kirtan. So now, because the Chandkazi was stopping the kirtan from going on, the Sankirtan movement, Lord Chaitanya decided publicly to come out. And so there's a very wonderful description we read from the Chaitanya Bhagavat about the wonderful kirtan that was led by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the associates of himself gathered together. And it said that millions of people appeared, the demigods and devas all appeared in human form so they could join this procession to the Chandkazi's house. And they had, torchlights, burning candles, flames on logs. And there were so many that it was very intimidating to the Chandkazi. And when they turned up at his house, the devotees started trashing his garden. At the time, the Chandkazi was the magistrate in Navadvip. So they trashed his garden. He had flowers and mango trees, and the devotees started pulling them up. And it's explained in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that Lord Chaitanya was encouraging this at one point, the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Apparently Lord Chaitanya says, now burn the house down. But under the pleas of his intimate associates, they said, oh, probably not a good idea. You're supposed to be a magnanimous, merciful personality, so you can't really burn down the house of the Chandkazi. But interestingly enough, that the pastime that Vrindavan Das Thakur talks about in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, he doesn't mention this discussion between the Chandkazi and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He just says that they trashed his garden, and then they left, and the kirtan went off to other villages in other parts of Navadvip. But in the Caitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he gives a very elaborate description of the interaction that actually took place between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Chandkazi. So the Chandkazi was hiding in his room out of fear, and he could just see that Lord Chaitanya had come in a very, very angry mood, so he was hesitant and fearful. You can imagine if like hundreds of thousands of people suddenly turned up in the forecourt out there and were demanding, come out, come out, come out. You'd be quite scared. So that was the position of the Chandkazi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got one of his servants to approach the Chandkazi and encourage him to come out. And he saw the Chandkazi as an uncle, because the Chandkazi was the friends of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father, Jagannath Mishra, so he saw him as an uncle. So it's interesting, these points that we were reading here, because the Chandkazi, actually I've got some pictures. There we go. I've got a nice picture here of the meeting between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Chandkazi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking the Chandkazi when he came out, he was explaining to him, the cow provides milk, so she is a mother. So why do the Mohammedans kill the mother when she's providing milk? So the Chandkazi challenged Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we read, I think in text number 158. The Chandkazi says to Lord Chaitanya, in somewhat of a challenging mood, well, in your Vedic scriptures there is an injunction for killing a cow. On the strength of this injunction, great sages perform sacrifices involving cow killing. So it's explained in there's a study guide. I don't know if some of you have seen the study guide for the Caitanya Charitamrita, but the point that's being made in this particular section is that If one can support his position by quoting from the Vedas, his argument is perfect. Shastra, with a short a, means rulership by weapons, but better than this is Shastra, or rulership through the injunction of scriptures. So Shastra is on the projection there with an accented a. Shastra means ruling through the injunction of the scriptures, whereas Shastra without the accented a just means rulership by weapons. Our Vedic scriptures are not ordinary law books of human common sense. They're statements of factually liberated persons unaffected by the imperfections of the senses. A Shastra cannot change at a person's whim. So it's interesting, in the purport Prabhupada mentioned here the scriptures of the Yavanas, or the scriptures of the meat eaters, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. He says their compilation has history, they're not eternal like the Vedic knowledge. Therefore, although they have their arguments and reasoning, they're not very sound and transcendental. As such, modern people advanced in science and philosophy deem these scriptures unacceptable. So that's the difference between a transcendental scripture or Shastra and something which is not necessarily purely transcendental. That something that's transcendental is eternally true. It was true in the past, it's true in the present, it will be true into the future. It doesn't change. So they're Shastric conclusions, and these Shastra conclusions are meant for guiding human civilization. They're meant for guiding humanity. And as Prabhupada points out here, that because the Yavana scriptures don't really present things in an advanced scientific or philosophical nature, that people have rejected them. And you can see that's what's happened now, is that reductionist science has become the new religion for people. People are guided by the scientific experts. They don't have faith in these scriptures anymore, because they don't offer any deep philosophical reasoning or understanding. As I mentioned a couple of classes ago, that I had some people from another biblical-based, Judeo-Christian-based, Abrahamic religion-based come to my house, door knocking, and I was talking to them and trying to understand their philosophical ideology, and then I had 3 points which they weren't able to answer. One of them was that, well, God is personal, which they agreed on, God is a person, but they had no knowledge of who that personality was. There was no description within the scriptures they follow. It was very vague, and really what they presented was a very impersonal understanding that God is just an energy, indescribable, and no one knows. And also they had an ideology that the earth is only 6,000 years old, which, as we know, is incorrect. The Shastras explain that the earth planet is always manifesting and unmanifesting. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that he spoke this Bhagavad Gita millions and millions of years ago to the sun god. So we know that the earth has been around much longer than that. And it's also confirmed by Dhrutakama in his book, The Hidden History of the Human Race, where he finds so many anomalies that have been discovered which verify that anatomically correct Homo sapiens have been around for millions and millions of years. So they find human skeletons under layers of rock strata which are millions and millions of years old, and old tools and all sorts of things. So it's quite common knowledge now that our understanding of history is very, very vague. It's very popular now, and people like David Icke and other people like that who challenge and question the human antiquity and where do we come from. And what's his name? Hancock? He put he's put several documentaries together, Chariots of the Gods, and another one which is on Netflix about ancient apocalypse, which talks about how ancient human civilizations have been around for so long, and we're presenting warnings to the modern day humans about astronomical and astrological things that had occurred a long time back. So that was the second point, that the earth is only 6,000 years old. They had no concept of God, and they couldn't tell the difference between what is matter and what is spirit. The concept was that when you pass away, you take this body with you to heaven, and you're there with all of your family members in this body. So there were 3 ideological points which I was contesting with them, because we understand we have the Vedas, and the Vedas can answer these things. We have a concept of who the Supreme Personality of God is. Prabhupada said we know his address, we know his form, we know where he lives. We have full knowledge of these things. We understand human antiquity, like the Puranas. The Bhagavad Purana or the Srimad Bhagavatam means the ancient histories. So we have an understanding of human antiquity going back millions and millions of years, and great pastimes of where the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared himself or when he sent various incarnations and performed various pastimes over millions and millions of years, over various yuga cycles. And we understand the difference between matter and spirit, as Prabhupada quoted in the purport today, that verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Dehanusman Yatadehe, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So that's the ABCs of spiritual understanding, is that we're not the body. There's a difference between the body and the soul. And the soul is transmigrating from one body to the next body to the next body, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And the human form of life is meant for extricating the soul from that cycle of samsara, repeated birth and death, and getting free from janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, birth, death, old age and disease. So the Shastra presents these understandings. These are the basics of understanding of spiritual life. So going back to the Chandkazi, he was challenging Lord Caitanya and the Vedas, saying that, well, the Vedas also facilitate the killing of cows, so almost saying, well, you're being hypocritical here. So we can review the arguments, because they're quite important, the arguments that Lord Caitanya used to refute the Chandkazi. And we'd read these in the previous 10 or 11 verses previous. So Lord Caitanya made 6 main points using the Shastra. So text 159, he brings up the point that cow killing is prohibited in the Shastras. He says, the Vedas clearly enjoin that the cow should not be killed. Therefore, every Hindu, whoever he may be, avoids indulging in cow killing. So that's the first point Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made to refute the Chandkazi. And then in text 160 and 162, he presents the idea of rejuvenation. So in the Vedas, as Lord Chaitanya says, in the Vedas and Puranas, there are injunctions declaring that if one can revive a living being, he can kill it for experimental purposes. Therefore, the great sages sometimes killed old cows, and by chanting Vedic hymns, they brought them to life for perfection. The killing and rejuvenation of such old and invalid cows was not truly killing, but an act of great benefit. So the Brahmanas were so potent in previous yuga cycles that they could kill the cow or a horse sometimes as well, but they could test the potency of the mantras by bringing those animals back to life again and rejuvenating them. So that was the potency of the Brahmanas in previous yuga cycles. And then further, so that was the second point Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made about rejuvenation, that the Vedas facilitate a killing of a cow or a horse because they can be rejuvenated again, so they're not really being killed, whereas the Mohammedans are killing and eating the meat. So the next point that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes to refute the Chandkazi is at text 163. He raises the point about unqualified Kali Yuga Brahmanas, and there's also text 164, he talks about the forbidden acts in Kali Yuga. So in text 163, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, formerly there were powerful Brahmanas who could make such experiments using Vedic hymns, but now because of the Kali Yuga, Brahmanas are not so powerful. Therefore, the killing of cows and bulls for rejuvenation is forbidden. And in the next text, 164, he says, in this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden. The offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children and his brother's wife. That's from the Brahma Vaivata Purana. So that's also a Shastric injunction, especially relevant for this Kali Yuga. So in previous ages, as we talked about, the Brahmanas had a lot of potency and power, so they could bring back the animals to life again to test the potency of their mantra, the chanting of their mantra. And so other points raised there, taking sannyas, offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children and his brother's wife. Because previously, if a male was barren for whatever reason, and he was unable to conceive, then the Vedic scriptures facilitated the brother was able to conceive a child in the wife. But this is no longer relevant for this age we're living within now. So the next point that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes to the Chandkazi is that the Mohammedans can't bring cows back to life. He says, since you Muslims cannot bring killed animals back to life, you are responsible for killing them. Therefore you are going to hell. There is no way for your deliverance. And then in the next text he says in 166, cow killers are condemned to rot in hellish life for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of the cow. Then he says to him, the imperfect scriptures of the Mohammedans and the Quran, there are many mistakes and illusions in your scriptures. Their compilers, not knowing the essence of knowledge, gave orders that were against reason and argument. So these are the points that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he argued from the basis of Shastra. And what was the response of the Chand Kazi? He says that today, we heard in the verse, my dear Namo Pundit, what you have said is all true. Our scriptures are developed only recently and they are certainly not logical and philosophical. So Prabhupada says that the Chand Kazi was an intelligent person. He's intelligent because he accepted Lord Chaitanya's arguments that he was using based on the Shastra. He didn't get all emotional and angry and start saying, but you can't say that, that makes me feel a certain way, I feel... He didn't say anything like that. He accepted it because he was intelligent and knew that the Shastra is the ultimate authority. So Prabhupada says he is an intelligent person. So an intelligent person will accept the verdict of the Shastras. They'll be guided by the verdict of the Shastras and the Scriptures. You know, we can see in Kali Yuga in particular that bodyism becomes more and more prevalent within the Kali Yuga. People's absorption and identification of the body becomes more and more intensified. This notion that I'm the body, I'm a man, I'm a woman, or I could be a bit of both. That's a common one these days. You know, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm an Australian, I'm American, you know, I'm an African, I'm a this, I'm a that, becomes more and more reinforced into people's consciousness. Whereas if someone is guided by the Shastras, then they'll understand, I'm not the body, it's not who I am, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm a completely separate entity from those things altogether, and I'm eternally a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So that's the level of consciousness the Shastra is guiding us to, and showing us how to act and live in that consciousness as well. Through the example of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed us how to live as a spirit soul, and that's what Sri Caitanya Caritamrita means. It means the immortal nectarian pastimes of the living force and immortality. So these are the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. These are the pastimes, transcendental pastimes of the spirit soul. So that was an interesting point anyway, I thought, about the arguments that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was making and confirming that the Vedic scriptures or Shastra are not just sentimental, temporary ideologies, but they're eternal truths, the Shastra. And Prabhupada said that we should know these books just as the lawyers know their law books. And he commented his books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. So we should know these books very, very, very well. So just like Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was challenged, he was able to use the Shastra to defeat the arguments or challenges of the Chand Kazi. So we should also know the Shastra very, very well, so that if people challenge, we don't necessarily have to argue with them, but we're just presenting, well, this is what the Shastra says, this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. These are the Vedic understandings. So if they're intelligent, they will accept. But also, you know, someone who's an expert preacher is able to draw from what's going on in the secular world. You can see there's so many. Caitanya Swami is very expert, for example, at using the quotes and the studies of the so-called experts to verify the Vedic scriptures, you know, to bring people closer. Like he's written his book, Searching for Vedic India, which is presenting various anomalies that are going on around the world about, as we talked about, ancient history, human antiquity. You know, people now are conscious of ethereal, out-of-body experiences and UFOs and aliens and all these things. So these things are all part of the Vedic cosmology and obviously present things in their completeness. And people are looking at all these different anomalies in separate ways, whereas the Shastra can bring all these things together and explain them to people. So yeah, many preachers are very expert at using the what's going on in contemporary society to bring people closer to the Vedas and the Vedic Shastras. So we can move on. Does anybody have any points about what we Prabhu? rejuvenation means bringing something back to life again, rejuvenating, giving new life. So the brahmanas could sacrifice a cow or a horse in the fire, and then through their mantra they could bring that animal back to life again, rejuvenate its life, bring it back to life. That makes sense? You understand? Yeah. No, the brahmanas, we don't have the potency as brahmanas anymore. That quality of brahmana doesn't exist anymore in Kali Yuga, so it's forbidden. So it says in the Shastra and the Brahma Vaivarta Purana that practice is forbidden in this age of Kali. But formally, it's there that the brahmanas had the potency, the Shakti, that they could chant the mantra and bring the cow or the horse back to life again.
Another thing that strikes me is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned about the good Hindus don't eat cows, but unfortunately nowadays we can see with sadness that many Hindus eat cows, and some of them come from Brahmin caste and they decide to take out the thread because for them it's more comfortable to eat cow and take out the thread than to follow the even a tradition, no? It's not longer following.
Yeah, I think I saw a map somewhere someone put recently, maybe on social media, but it showed the states where cow killing and eating meat has become more prominent. So as Kali Yuga progresses, then it becomes more and more prominent. Obviously, back in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, it was not the done thing. It was, I mean, that's what the Mohammedans used to do to convert the Hindus to become Mohammedans, is they'd put a piece of meat in the mouth or sprinkle their water on the Hindus, and according to them, they were now converted into Mohammedans. So it was a very different societal structure back then.
No, you need to do more than that to make this sound Hindu.
Yeah, well, back then that was the understanding. If you sprinkled a Mohammedan sprinkled water on the Muslim's head, then you are now no longer Hindu, you're now a Muslim, and yeah, that's how they rolled.
I just maybe you can shed some light and explain. I've often wondered. I mean, I accept, Krishnadas Kaviraj and these great souls. They've come down more or less, the great acharyas, and they've compiled. It's seemingly compiled. Well, even Caitanya Caritamrita recently, because it said, these scriptures of the Abrahamic religions are compiled recently. So seemingly, this scripture is compiled recently too. What argument can we give, or how do we see that? I mean, obviously, we could say, well, they're descended souls, they're great acharyas, obviously, but yeah, can you see?
Well, the Caitanya Caritamrita specifically was authored by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, because he was requested by the Vaishnavas in Vrindavan to write the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, because prior to the Caitanya Caritamrita, the only book they had about the pastimes was by Vrindavan Das Thakur, which was the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So the devotees requested Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write the Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita, and the content of the Chaitanya Caritamrita was given mainly through the diaries of Sarut Damodar and Marari Gupta, and also he had personal association with Raghunath Das Goswami. They were both living at Radha Kund, so he was hearing every day from Raghunath Das Goswami these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. There's no difference between them. So whatever his pastimes are, they're purely transcendental. What he's speaking is transcendental. So it's a transcendental Shastra. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also, I mean, the only thing he left personally was the Shikshastakam prayers. That's what he personally spoke, which are totally in line with the Shastra. And also when he speaks, he's arguing based on the Shastra. He's not saying, well, I think this, I think that. He's confirming that the Shastras are the authority. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Srimad Bhagavatam is the Amala, the spotless Purana. And also he found in his tour of South India the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita, No Govindamari Purusham. We have that because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So whatever he spoke, however he acted, was in line with the Shastra. And Krishna says that too, that even though he's aloof from all the rules and regulations, he still follows them just to set a nice example for people. It's the same with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's one pastime with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he's in Navadvip and he's walking past a pub, I think with Lord Nityananda, and he took on the mood of Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram likes a Rooney juice, so he went into Balaram bar and goes, I'm going into the pub, I'm going into the pub. And oh no, you can't go into the pub, you can't go into the pub. So sometimes we can see that sometimes Lord Chaitanya Prabhu even, I think he said that, why do I have to follow these rules and regulations? But the devotees spoke to him and pacified him, saying, oh no, you have to set a nice example. How are we going to explain this one to the devotees that you've gone into a pub? So, he's not obliged to follow the rules and regulations, but he does to set the example for people. And that's an acharya. They teach by their example. Does that make sense? Okay. Now today, running out of time, today's also the appearance day of Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaita Acharya. We can talk a little bit about it. I had a couple of other points I was going to make about the Chand Kazi. That the Chand Kazi in Krishna Leela is actually Kamsa. So in Krishna Leela he's killed by Krishna, but in Caitanya Leela he gets Krishna Prem. So that's the difference between Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, even though they're the same personality. Lord Chaitanya, being very magnanimous, he gives prema to the Chand Kazi, who's explained was Kamsa in the Krishna Leela. So there's if those who have been to Mayapur, there's a tree. This is the samadhi on the right-hand side. That's the samadhi of the Chand Kazi, and there are two trees growing in this samadhi, and one is said to be, they're both intertwined with each other. So the devotees say that represents Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as eternally embracing the Chand Kazi. And also the Chand Kazi gave his seal on the left-hand side as a seal. There's also one I noticed on the Goshala. This is actually above the Goshala down the bottom here, and that's actually the seal that the Chand Kazi gave to the devotees, which meant when they were in Harinam Sankirtan they could take that seal publicly, and it meant that the Chand Kazi had given his approval, so not to harass the Vaishnavas. And I think in Vrindavan, there's a temple in Vrindavan in Nityananda Bhatt, and they say that they're just descendants of Lord Nityananda, and they have his personal seal as well. That's in this temple in Vrindavan still. So the devotees would carry these around when they did Sankirtan. And also the Chand Kazi, also, I mean, he got prem. He got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's actually a poem that was written allegedly by the Chand Kazi. The following poem is by Maulana Chand Kazi, the Muslim magistrate of Navadvip during Chaitanya's time. Jatindra Mohan Bhattacharya compiled this poem in his book Mangala Vaishnava Baba Pana Muslim Kabi, second edition, published in 1945. So allegedly this is a poem by the Chand Kazi. It's called The Forbidden Calling of the Flute. You do not know how to play the flute. Untimely you play it, my heart refuses any reason. When I'm seated amongst the elders, you call out my name, playing on the flute, embarrassing me to no end. As you play the flute from the other bank, and I hear from here, unfortunate lass I am, for I know not how to swim across the grove whose bamboo makes the flute. Be under my feet, let it be uprooted by storm and set afloat in the Yamuna. Chand Kazi says, as I listen to your flute, I crumble down. I won't live if I don't see my Hari. So those are the sentiments of the heart of the Chand Kazi, which allegedly penned that poem. Chand Kazi ki jai. So we can read a bit about Sita Thakurani. She's the wife of Advaita Acharya. Today is her appearance day. So according to the Gora Ganadeshtapika, Sita Thakurani, the wife of Sri Advaita Acharya, is Yogamaya, and her sister Shri is the Prakash or manifestation of Yogamaya. Srimati Sita Thakurani is to be worshipped just as much as Sachi Devi herself as the mother of the universe. She is the eternal wife of Sri Advaita Acharya. She was a daughter of Sri Nrsimha Baduri. She was married to Sri Advaita Acharya in Puliva Nagara. After their wedding, Advaita Acharya went to Nadia to live in Shantipur. Sita Thakurani was always absorbed in Vatsalya Prem for Sri Gaurasundara Prabhu, and out of paternal affection used to instruct Jagannath Mishra on how to care for the boy. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has described the birth celebration at the house of Jagannath Mishra upon the advent of the Lord. Giving special attention to the position of Sri Sita Thakurani, Advaita Acharya's wife, worshipable by all the three worlds, was Sita Thakurani. Taking the Acharya's orders on her head, she had come to take a look at this new child, this jewel of jewels, and to offer him presents. On the eve of his son's advent, Sri Jagannath Mishra, seeing the imminent signs of his child's arrival, sent word to Advaita Acharya in Shantipur that the long-awaited child was being born. Hearing news of the advent of this unprecedented child, Advaita Acharya floated in waves of ecstasy. With Sri Haridas Thakur, he went to bathe in the river, and after much dancing and song, he sent his wife to go quickly to Mayapur and Navadvip. In Dwapara Yuga, during the celebration of Krishna's birth ceremony, she was present in the house of Nanda, and at the same time gave Nanda and Yashoda many instructions on how to care for the child. The Caitanya Caritamrita gives the following account of Sita Thakurani's visit to the house of Jagannath Mishra after the birth of Lord Caitanya. One day, shortly after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was born, Advaita Acharya's wife Sita Devi, who was worshipable by the whole world, taking permission of her husband, went to see that topmost child with all kinds of gifts and presents. She bought different kinds of golden ornaments, including bangles for the hand, armlets, necklaces, and anklets. There were also tiger nails set in gold, waist decorations of silk and lace, ornaments for the hands and legs, nicely printed silken saris, and a child's garment, also made of silk. Many other riches, including gold and silver coins, were also presented for the child. Riding in a palanquin covered with cloth and accompanied by maidservants, Sita Thakurani came to the house of Jagannath Mishra, bringing with her many auspicious articles such as fresh grass, paddy, gorcharan, turmeric, kumkum, and sandalwood. All these presentations filled a big basket. When Sita Thakurani came to the house of Sachidevi, bringing with her many kinds of edibles, dresses, and other gifts, she was astonished to see the newly born child, for she appreciated that except for a difference in colour, the child was directly Krishna of Gokul himself. Seeing the transcendental bodily effulgence of the child, each of his nicely constructed limbs full of auspicious signs and resembling a form of gold, Sita Thakurani was very much pleased, and because of her maternal affection, she felt as if her heart were melting. She blessed the newly born child by placing fresh grass and paddy on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name Nimai. On the day that the mother and son took bath and left the maternity room, Sita Thakurani gave them all kinds of ornaments and garments, and then also honoured Jagannath Mishra. Then Sita Thakurani, being honoured by Mother Sachidevi and Jagannath Mishra, was greatly happy within her mind, and she returned home. From that day on, Sita Thakurani would often come to Mayapur from Shantipur in order to teach Sachimata how to care for the new baby. She would give her many different instructions on how to raise children. After helping with the child in this way, she would return to Shantipur. When it came time for the child's birthday ceremony, Jagannath Mishra and Sachidevi let the worshipable Sita Thakurani be the first child to offer new clothes. So we can stop there. There were various pastimes of Sita Thakurani and Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, like when Lord Caitanya became upset with Advaita Acharya, who began preaching Mayavad and personal philosophy because he was trying to be chastised by the Lord, because Lord Caitanya was treating him as an elder and he wanted to be treated as a servant. So he began preaching this Mayavad philosophy, and Lord Caitanya became very upset and began beating him. And Sita Thakurani began pleading with Lord Caitanya, "Oh, please don't do this. He's an old man. You can't do this." So various pastimes, anyway, of Sita Thakurani. And as we heard there, she's an eternal associate of Lord Krishna in the Gauraganadeshtapika. She is Yogamaya, so all of these are eternal associates of the Lord. So anyway, we can stop there because it's 8:30 and we've got to stop at 8:30. Otherwise, I get chastised. Jai Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Shri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Shri Sita Thakurani ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.